Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Maseches Zevachim Daf Mem. We begin right on top on the first line. Amar Mar. Let's go back and review what was learned yesterday. So yesterday we had a discussion based on a pasuk, which relates to the special par hachata, special cow that the tzibur, the community, brings upon transgressing a serious sin due to being misled by the bezdin. So that's called a par he'elim davar shel tzibur. Now this par is a chatas. It's actually an internal chatas, which means that the blood is placed internally on the mizbeach hazohav, on the four corners of the internal mizbeach. Actually, there's a set of 7 applications which goes on the pareiches, on the curtain, which is in the heichal. Now, after the Torah presented in great detail the entire process, the Torah sort of repeats itself. V'asal par, he meant to do to this par just like was done to the other par. Kasher asal par chatas, which is a par kohen mashuach, a similar type of chatas, which the kohen gadol is liable to when he sins. Kohen yasaloi, the same should be done to him, and the pasuk concludes v'chiper alayim hakohen v'nislach lahem. Now, this appears like a repetition. You already told me what I need to do. Why go back and say, well, do to him like you do to the other one? The point is to emphasize that in fact all these blood applications are critical, are vital to the process. They are absolutely necessary. Without them, you don't have a carbon. Omar Mas, let's go back. There was a suggestion that perhaps this repetition / criticality is specific to the set of 7 applications on the pareiches. Ainli lamatan sheva. Perhaps only those 7 blood applications on the pareiches, they are critical. Because shema'akves b'chal makeh. Because they are indeed universal. They're ma'akev everywhere. Says the Gemara Hecha, what do you find? A set of 7 which are in fact critical. Omra Papa, we find 2 places. B'para, regarding the para duma, Rashi brings the pasuk. You take the blood and spray it towards the oil mayed 7 times. And there it says, chukah, it's absolute, you can't. No negotiation, right? No leeway, it's absolute. Ubenagayim, likewise by the metzora, while he's getting, purified, you take the lug of oil and you spray it 7 times. And again over there it says zois tihiyah, says Rashi, tihiyah means havaya, ikuva, it's ma'akiv, it's absolute. So I would think, okay, regarding the 7 applications, they're absolute. Matan aber menayin, what about the set of 4 applications on the 4 corners of the mizbeach hazav? How do you know that's also absolute over here by the par helem davar? Tamalemar, the pasuk continues with another expression of emphasis. Kein yasa, likewise should be done, non-negotiable. Ask the Gemara, look, I understand there is room to differentiate, but the fact is, the Torah does already emphasize everything that's meant to be done here is absolute. You can't differentiate. Despite the logic to do so, the Torah tells us otherwise. Ma'ishna matan zayin. Why do we consider the set of 7 applications to be absolute and critical? Because they've been said once and repeated again, as we explained. Well, the same with the 4 application. Matan dalad nami ksivan ukfilan. Likewise, regarding the 4 blood applications to the corners of the mizbeach, those 2 were recited once and repeated again for emphasis, to tell you that it's critical. So how could you differentiate? How could you even suggest that matan dalad would not be ma'akiv? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. Lo nitzchol Rabbi Shimon. This point is specific to Rabbi Shimon. Why Rabbi Shimon? The Sanya, as we learned. How do we in fact know that a par helam davar shel tzibur requires 4 applications to the 4 corners of the mizbeach? Really, if you look in the Pesukim, it doesn't say anywhere the number 4. It just says karnes, the corners. Corners could be 2, plural is 2. Rather, says Rav Shimon, we connect the word karnes, which is said by the par kohen mashuach, and the word krones, which is said over here by the par helam davar. We compare notes, 2 and 2 equals 4. So in reality, the number 4 was never recited by par helam davar. So, in fact, the Torah wouldn't come back again and re-emphasize, you should know, even 4 is ma'akib, you would know. You see, in contrast to the set of 7, which is clearly stipulated over here by the par helam davar. So now when the pasuk comes and repeats, Kaya, kasha, yas, asal apar, right, do it. It's for emphasis purposes, that it's absolute non-negotiable. Versus the number 4, on the 4 corners, there is no number 4 cited specifically over here. So the emphasis language is not considered repetition. First you need it to be said one time, then you can come back and emphasize. So that's why we need another expression of emphasis. Say, well, even regarding the matan dalet, which has been derived by connecting this carbon to the other carbon, 2 here, 2 there, total of 4, now comes another emphasis. Ken yasa, you should know, whatever you concluded, okay, it's 4, fine. Do it. It's absolute, non-negotiable. So again, this added emphasis is needed. Ella, only the Reb Shimon, the Sani, as we learned. L'malu oimer, upstairs by the, further back by the psukim regarding the parkoin mashuach, in terms of where to apply the blood, instead of saying keren, which would be 1 corner, it says kronois, 2. Plural is 2, stein. Lamata, further down by the par helam davar. Likewise, instead of saying keren, it says karnois, another 2. Lamata oimer keren karnois, so you have a total of 4. Div Reb Shimon. So according to Reb Shimon, the pasuk begins by saying, do to this like you did to the other one. Basically, it's telling you, add 2 to 2 for a total of 4. It's not yet been emphasized or repeated. It's needed to tell you the basic number. And then when it comes back, that's a repetition. That's for emphasis, to tell you it's absolute. Okay, so this works according to Rabbi Shimon. However, we don't need this source for 4 corners. Because the pasuk clearly says, place the blood on the corners of the mizbeach hakteris lifnei Hashem asher bo'il mayed. The word bo'il mayed is extra. We know the mizbeach hakteris is sitting in the oil mayed in the heichal. Harayoymar bo'il mayed. What's that for? To tell you, place the blood on all aspects of the mizbeach, all 4 corners, and that's why it adds the word bo'il mayed. Harayoymar bo'il mayed al kol ha'omer bo'il mayed. Place the blood on all the corners of the Oyel Moed, all 4. Ask the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda. According to this sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, the number 4 is derived locally within the parallel davar. We don't need to go search for number 4. It's right here. So now when the pasuk says asal apar kasharasa, do to this like you did to the other one, that's a repetition. We already know 4 locally. The repetition is to tell you it's absolute. Now the question is, what about the next phrase, Kenya Saloi, which according to Reb Shimon was for emphasis, according to Rabbi Yehuda it's unnecessary. So what does he do with that extra expression? Rabbi Yehuda Kenya Samayavli, what does he do with it? Miboilik, the sign is needed for the following halach. To tell you that over here by the par, Yom Kippurim, we need to do certain things which are not really clearly expressed within the psukim of Par Yom Kippurim. Rather, they learn it from this pasuk. Just as it applies to the other karbanos, it applies to him as well. Look at this sign. Because up until this point, we have never learned regarding Par Yom Kippurim that I need smicha, shi'ar adam, that the leftover blood is poured on the east side of the mizbeach. Menayin, how do we know those things apply to par Yom Kippurim as well? That's why we have this extra lashon kenyasa. Kenyasa refers to the par Yom Kippurim, as we learned yesterday, because within the pasuk it says the word lapar, which refers to Yom Kippurim. So kenyasa likewise is adding additional components to the Par Yom Kippurim process. Okay, Ask the Gemara, what do you mean? If the word lapar in this pasuk is par Yom Kippurim, so automatically all things that are applied to the other karbanos, par elam davar, all that applies to Yom Kippurim as well. We don't need an extra pasuk for smicha, shir adam to apply to Yom Kippurim. We already know it. Ha'amras, you told me, lapar, the word lapar, zeh, par Yom Kippurim, that's going on this par. So once he learns how to apply the blood, he learns to do smicha as well, learns to do shiraim as well. Says the Gemara, well, you can differentiate between primary activities and secondary ones. Istrich, there's a need for an extra pasuk. Why? Perhaps I would say, when do we say that Yom Kippurim imports all the components of the other karbanos? That's only regarding important and critical components. That's only avoida the makva kapara, critical components on the avoida, like the blood applications, etc. Aval avoida the makva kapara, but avoida which doesn't really hold back the kapara from happening, like smicha, like shiarei adam, these aren't really critical components. Emily, perhaps you wouldn't import those items to Yom Kippurim. Kamash malon, that's why we have the special pasuk ken yasaloi. Whatever happens there happens here, including smicha and shiarei adam. Now back to Reb Shimon. According to Reb Shimon, hi boil moed ma'avidlei. So according to Reb Yehuda, boil moed was telling you all four corners. According to Reb Shimon, the number 4 is learned through connecting 2 and 2. Why does he need a pasuk boil moed for a new halacha? Totally side point. Boil moed me'boil, it's needed for the following halacha. Shem nifchas atikra shel heichal lo yamazah. Halacha is if the tikra, the roof, the ceiling of the heichal blew off, was missing, you couldn't do the hazois, blood applications on the mizbeach. You need to have an oil moed, an enclosed area. How does Rabbi Yehuda learn this halacha? V'idach me asher. It says asher oil moed. Asher is extra to cover this point. V'idach, and Reb Shimon asher lidorish does not expound on asher. It's just a mode of expression. So according to this approach, which is the first approach, second one coming up soon, the words ken yasaloi was specific to Rabbi Shimon, who learns that the number 4, in terms of the 4 applications regarding the par elam davar, is not specifically or explicitly said within the discussion of par elam davar. Rather, we connect chrones here to chrones there, we get 4. So now ken yasa comes and emphasizes those are absolute and critical. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we know number 4 from within the discussion itself. Boil moed means all 4 corners of the mizbeach. So the beginning of the pasuk, v'asa lapar kasher asa, that in itself is an emphasis to tell you it's ma'akiv, leaving us with ken yasa to teach us other things. Abaya Amar Rabbi Yehuda nami isrich. The expression ken yasa for emphasis is even according to Rabbi Yehuda, to tell you that the 4 applications are absolutely vital by the par elam davar. Why would I think to differentiate? Perhaps I would say, perhaps we treat it the same as smicha and pouring the leftover blood on the yiseret mizbeach. The avagav deksivin, even though those items were mentioned one and emphasized again, loy ma'akva. Still, no, they're not going to be critical. As we learned yesterday, we have a special pasuk to discount them. So maybe matan arba nami like this. Okay, perhaps the quadruple application on the 4 corners, perhaps that's not either ma'akiv. Perhaps, as we find, it's not ma'akiv by the external chatois, so there's some sort of, weakness to them. Let's call it, right? So perhaps regarding the par elam davar, it's not either ma'akiv. Kamash malon comes the pasuk ken yasa, absolute, just as the 7 applications on ma'akiv, likewise the 4 as well. Now the pasuk continues with the word lapar, and we learned yesterday, lapar means ze par Yom Kippurim. So everything in the par Yom Kippurim is ma'akiv. Ask the Gemara, why do we need a special emphasis, special pasuk that it's me'akiv? What for? Ila'akiv, tell you everything in terms of the Yom Kippurim process is me'akiv. Pshit, of course. We already know that from elsewhere. Chukah ksiva bei. Because with respect to those karbanos, it says chayk, chukah, in the Torah. So every detail, every aspect is miyakev. Why another pasuk for the same point? Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Lo nitzruel Rabbi Yehuda. It's needed according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that the chukah, the absoluteness, applies to very specific aspects of the karbanos Yom Kippur. Not everything Yom Kippur is ma'akev. Damar, who says kiksiva chukah, when the Torah says chayk, Rashi brings the pasuk in the end of Achrei Mos, voices lachem lechukas olam. That's specific to very internal activities, the ones that are done inside the kodesh hakadashim. Only that's absolute. Advarim manasim big lovim b'fnim. That's what the kohen gadol does with his white garb, all the way inside. If you miss something or something's out of order, it's over. Shemikdem mas l'chaveri. Even if he moved things around in terms of the order, he did one before the other one. Even out of sequence is null and void. But the avodas, the kohen gadol does, even with his big day love, but if it's outside the kodesh hakadashim, it's not as critical, and therefore, if it's out of order, it works. Higdim, if you preceded the later activity to the earlier one, higdim mas l'chaver, masha asa asa, done is done. So perhaps Eimar can say, perhaps just as the order isn't critical, hazor is nami l'me'akri. The actual blood application isn't either critical. Just as order isn't critical, perhaps if he's missing it at all, perhaps it's also fine. Kamash malan. And here comes a new pasuk lapar. Ze payim kippurim. Everything regarding the par is ma'akiv. Maskav lo Rav Papa. Says Rav Papa, why would I think otherwise? Umimat says Amr, how can you even suggest that in fact if you miss the hazah on the par, it works? But Tanya. So going to Rabbi Yehuda here, we're saying, well, I would think that you can get away with with less. But Tanya, you have a brayso where Rabbi Yehuda himself, in his own words, clearly tells us that every single blood application regarding the par and sor and Yom Kippur are absolutely necessary and critical. But Tanya, the chila mechaper sakodesh, so he finished doing the kapara, which is an extra pasuk. Chila mechaper, what's the point? Says Rabbi Akiva, the emphasis is on the second word, kapara, michaper. Only things which are absolutely mechaper. So even though he didn't spill the blood, the leftover blood on the side, if he finished the kapara, that's all that counts. Im keeper, if he applied the blood on the mizbeach, the 7 and the 4, 7 on the pareches, 4 on the mizbeach, kila is considered done and completed. Vim like keeper, if he failed to do the kapara, meaning he failed to place the blood on the mizbeach, etc., like kila, the process was not completed and it's unsuccessful. Divir Rabbi Akiva, that's Rabbi Akiva's shita, meaning if he failed to pour the leftover blood on the yisod, that's not critical. Amma le Rabbi Yehuda tells him, what do you mean? Why would you say it that way? Let's read the pasuk in order. V'chila, if he completely completes everything, including the shvichas shirayim, then he's good to go. But otherwise not. Everything's me'akeh. Amma le Rabbi Yehuda, mipnei ma lo yinoima. Why shouldn't we say it literally? Im kila, if he completed till the last, till the finish line, keeper. And then he accomplished kapara. Otherwise not. Like kila, like keeper. So clearly Rabbi Yehuda holds. From this pasuk we see that everything is me'akev. So again, it renders our pasuk unnecessary. Amar Papa, you're right. The point of our pasuk today is to teach us some side points, which are not really mentioned clearly by the Parya Mekipurim. Of course, regarding the primary, activities, the hazois, those are critical. The point of lapar ze Parya Mekipurim, which is going to learn from Paralam Davar, Parakai Mashiach, that's for some side details that are also going to be critical. L'nisrucha, it's needed Ella regarding 3 halachis. 3, elements that are related to the blood application, where the kohen dips his finger and puts it on his back. There are 3 points to ponder. Ella, le'es, that's 1. Dam is 2. Uvetfila is 3. Meaning, the word es, Amar Achabar Yaakov Lenitzrucha Lahachshe. Amen Shebe'etzba. Amen is like a growth, a wart, some sort of bubble on his finger. So we know that the kohen would dip his finger into the blood, apply it on the mizbeach. What if he has a chatzitza, a barrier, gets in the way? That's a problem. But if he has a growth from his finger, is that okay? So in Par Kohen Meshuach, we learned that about all these halachas. That the aim, this bubble, is not an issue. Likewise, by Yom Kippur, it's not an issue as well. The second halacha is badam. V'tav al-kohen hetzboi badam. Badam, the blood. What do you mean, the blood? We learn shehei badam shiur tvil mikara. So let's say, he collects a little bit, half an ounce of blood in one container, half an ounce in the other container. Each one on its own wouldn't be enough, wouldn't be sufficient to allow for a dip of the kohen's finger. And now he sort of pours it together, joins it together. Does that work? No. There needs to have been the required quantity of blood as he's containing it from the animal. And that's what we learn from badam, the blood. Shei badam shir tvila. It needs to be a shir, tvila mi'ikara, initially. And finally, the word vataval tells you v'lei mesapek. He has to dip his finger in, rather than scraping blood off the wall of the container. Three halachas that are discussed by Par Kohen Meshuach, and by extension, we now bring it over, we import it to Yom Kippurim as well. Now, why do we need all these halachas? Isn't there kind of a crossover here? Once you know that you have to dip your finger in, you need enough blood to dip your finger, etc. There's a point in each halacha. Because Rachman of Vataval. The pasuk does have to say badam, because otherwise, if only Vataval, which indicates dipping, Havamina would say, as long as there's enough to dip now. Even if there wasn't enough to begin with, and now he added, it works. Oh, because Rachona Badam. Badam tells you the same blood. This quantity had to have been there from the first moment of Kabbalah. So you have to be makabel the blood in a way, in a manner that enables dipping. On the other hand, because Rachona Badam, if only the word Badam Havamina would say, okay, as long as there's enough blood, you've enabled the blood. But now, afilu mesapik, perhaps if he wants to, he can, scrape the walls. Kas Rachmana v'taval. V'taval means he has to dip his finger in. It's a very specific process, and only that works. Now, just as a side point, the pasuk says that he places the blood on the corners of the mizbeach hakteres hasamim, meant for keteris. Now we all know that the internal mizbeach is meant to have keteris. In fact, that's its primary function. Why does the Torah have to go and add this additional descriptive term, mizbeach keteris hasamim lamali? The answer is, suppose it's a new mizbeach. How do we inaugurate a new mizbeach? You have to use keteris to get it going, to activate it. Otherwise, if you didn't inaugurate, if you want mechanech, that mizbeach with keteris hasamim. So even though blood is also meant to go there occasionally, but the primary function is for keteris, that's how you have to get it started. If you fail to do so, you can't apply the blood. You have to wait until it's inaugurated with the keteris. Okay, so in a nutshell, we have this pasuk of asa lapar kasher asa lapar achatas kein yasaloi, right? So we explain that the pasuk is emphasizing that everything is critical. The 4 matanis, the 7 matanis by the parallel davar. Likewise, by Pari Mekipurim, and we learned that we already know from Yom Kippur that everything's critical by the Pari Mekipurim. Rather, according to Rav Papa, the pasuk is coming to add the additional components which aren't really discussed by Yom Kippur, the es, the dam, and the tvila, which is learned today. In fact, Tanika said Rav Papa, we have a right to Rav Papa that the point is to import these 3 halachas. What's the point of this pasuk? Lapar, l'rabbeis, Pari Mekipurim, l'chol, masha amar be'inyan. To import everything that's discussed in the other karbanis, including the halachas of es, dam, and tivila. Divei Rabbi, or Rabbi Akiva. Amar Bishmal disagrees. he says we don't really need to make this hekesh, this connection, to import the halachas to Parim Kippurim from the other ones. We have a kavachaymer for that purpose. Amar Yishmael kavachaymer. Uma b'makim shlo hushva, carbon le'carbon. If we find a situation where the Torah did not compare the types of animal, types of karbanos, they're meant to come from different types of animals. And we'll see in a minute what he's referring to. So despite their differences, hishva, masim la masim. Nevertheless, their masim, their avoida requirements are comparable. Certainly, in our case, where they're both cows, the Parim Kippurim is a cow, the Parkei Mashiach is a cow. They have that similarity. Certainly, wouldn't you assume they have similar avodas? Mokim she hishva carbon le'carbon, a situation where the Torah compared the types of karbanis, cow, and then wouldn't you agree sheyish v'masal masa in terms of the types of avoda, the azois and the heichal and the mizbeach, they should be on the same page. So we don't need a special pasuk to compare. We already know that. So why does the pasuk add the word par? The par helam davar shel tzibur. It's coming to include that carbon. Now the question is, we know everything by par helam davar. It already says it here. So the Gemara later will discuss this. And the next time it says lapar in this pasuk, the par kol Mashiach, to tell you that everything by the par kol Mashiach is critical, just like by the par helam davar. Let's go back to what he just told us. How do we know that everything by Yom Kippurim is critical? Because of the kavachayim. In a case where the karbanos are different types of species, different types. Now, what is it referring to? Where do we find karbanos of different types where their avodah is similar? What does that mean? Within Yom Kippur we have a par and a sar, who undergo the same type of avodah, same blood applications, etc., despite their different types in terms of animals. Hold up, that's your starting point? That can be refuted. That's very different. Something very unique about these two karbanis. Their blood is taken all the way inside the Kodesh HaKodashim. So perhaps they're in a different world. They're so similar to each other in this uniqueness. The fact that they both go inside. So it makes sense. And in terms of the other aspects, they're going to be similar. So you can't really compare to them. Ella rather. An example of dissimilar karbanis who share the same process. Ella par helam davar shel tzibur, which is a par. Us'ir avetz kechavim, the goats that tzibur brings for doing avodah zarah. Goat and cow, different. And they have similar avodah, similar blood applications. Once again, that can be refuted. You can't use that as a trigger point to your kavachayim. That can be refuted. Mitzvah yadua. These two that you mentioned are coming to address a known sin that was discovered, as opposed to Parim Kippurim, which is addressing an unknown sin. Ella rather like this. Par helam davar shel tzibur. So again, those two have something in common. You can't compare to them. Ella par helam davar shel tzibur v'sar shlem Kippur. The starting point will be, let's compare Parim helam davar shel tzibur, which is a cow, and Sar Yom Kippur. This is a cow, this is a goat, different types. And we find that in many ways, many respects, they have a similar process. And the Rabbi Shmuel meant like this. We have a situation where there is a dissimilarity between the karbanis. This is a cow, this is a goat, right? A high par high sar, he's a cow, he's a goat. Nevertheless, they have a lot in common. Hushu masim lamas lamay kasabu, in terms of the processes that were described and attributed to these karbanis. They're similar. The hazois, right? They both go on the paroiches, they both go on the mizbeach hapnimi, etc., right? So a lot in common, despite their being different in terms of the type of carbon. Malkum shehush for carbon. Certainly, where you have them both the same type of carbon, like Par Yom Kippur and Par Koyim Mashiach, they're both cows, the high par by high par. And then wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't it make sense? Shehushu masim lamasim. And in fact, they should be comparable in terms of the avodas. So based on this kal v'chomer, v'asale Par Yom Kippurim le'es b'dam v'tefila. Mi Par Koyim Mashiach. So that allows us to compare Yom Kippur to Koyim Mashiach regarding those three halachas that we mentioned before: the wort, the dipping, the mount. And likewise, v'asile soir Yom Kippurim. Now one more point. So we've sort of addressed Par Yom Kippurim. That will import the halachas from the Par Koyim Mashiach based on the kal v'chomer. What else is left? In Yom Kippur we have the Par Yom Kippurim and the Soir Yom Kippurim. That also can be learned through a kal v'chomer, to teach us that all these halachas apply there as well. V'asile Soir Yom Kippurim, that carbon as well can be derived through a gzera shava, through a kal v'chomer, misirei avodas kecham, from the goats that the community brings upon sinning with avodas zarah. How? Kal v'chomer, through a kal v'chomer. What is the kal v'chomer? So Rashi explains. Starting point would be, if we find that Par Hilam Davar, which is a cow, and Soir Yom Kippurim, which is a goat, they're different karbanis. Nevertheless, as we have just proven a minute ago, they're similar in terms of the process. So certainly, when the karbanis are coming from the same type of animal, both goats, Soir Yom Kippur and Soir avodas zarah, both the same type, certainly they should be equated in terms of their avodas. Okay, so now we know to import these halachas of es, dam, and tvila, not only to Par Yom Kippurim, but to Soir Yom Kippurim as well. Says the Gemara, hold it. How do we know that es, dam, and tvila apply to Soir avodas zarah, which is the source for this kal v'chomer? It's because he was mentioned in that pasuk of asal apar, right? Comparing him to the Par Koyim Mashiach. So it's a two-step process. First, you have to import es, dam, and tvila from Mashiach to Soir avodas zarah. Once you have that in place, by way of a kal v'chomer, you can import further from there to Soir Yom Kippurim. Can you do that? Can you make a double import? V'chi davar lamed behekesh. Is that true that an item that is learned first through a hekesh, chayzer lamed kal v'chomer, can now be exported through a kal v'chomer? Is that so? There's a whole discussion and other gemaras, other sugyas. Is that a valid mode of import? Amar Papa, yeah. Because Savatana Rabbi Shmuel, this shita Rabbi Shmuel holds. The Tana of Rabbi Shmuel's yeshiva, who presented this brayso, says it works. Davar halamed behekesh, an item that's derived through a hekesh, yeah, can be not turned around and exported through a kal v'chomer. Chayzer lamed kal v'chomer. Okay, so in a nutshell, according to Rabbi Shmuel's approach, the way we know these halachas apply to Par Yom Kippurim and Soir Yom Kippurim, which halachas? The es, dam, and tvila, right? The idea of the chatzitz on the finger, the amount of blood needed initially, the idea of dipping instead of swiping. All those halachas are exported to Par Yom Kippurim and Soir of Yom Kippurim. How? By way of a kal v'chomer. Okay, so in a nutshell, just recap today's daf. We learned that Matan Arba and Matan Zayin apply to Par Yom Kippurim and their ma'akiv. We have Rabbi Yehuda's approach, Rabbi Shimon's approach, and then we learned that es, dam, and tefillah apply to Yom Kippurim as well, whether it's through the pasuk or through the kal v'chomer. All the best to you, and atzlach.